Hello and welcome to Healing with Julie Bishop. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the AMD, Ionic Footbath, which stands for a major difference. This is definitely a healing modality that I think everyone should have in your home. I have to admit that when I first started researching foot baths, I said, this is a scam, this is a hoax, and I was totally skeptical. I really wasn't sure which one to choose, and you're probably thinking just like I am, there's so many out there. There's some on Amazon for $300, there's some for $500, and who do you know to trust, and how do you know which one to get? And honestly, you have to just really just continuously dig and research until you get your answers. And for me, I kept looking around and I'm like, I just don't understand. They all look the same to me, and I just still think it's a scam. Well, I went to Dr. Lu Jean Feng in Cleveland, Ohio, and she says to me, okay, now that your implants are out, you have to start detoxing. And she's like, I want you to go downstairs to my clinic and try my foot bath. And I said, oh, really? You have a foot bath? I've been looking at foot baths. And she's like, oh yes, you have to get the AMD Ionic foot bath, a major difference. She's like, it works. And I'm like, this is so awesome, because I'd been looking, and she's a holistic surgeon, so I trust her. So I went downstairs, I did a session. Of course, you see the water changing color, and you're just wondering, does this really work? So I went through the 30-minute session, still kind of skeptical, and I left, and I'm like, well, we'll see. So on the 3.5-hour drive home, I felt so amazing. I had so much energy. And for me, I still was in my mind like, well, maybe it's just because, I had a great checkup with her, the implants are out. I still was making excuses. And then what really made me a believer is I came home and I had that first bowel movement. And when I started seeing what was coming out in the stool, and I also was seeing what was coming out in the urine through excretion, I was like, wow, this really works. And so a lot of times people get really intrigued with the color of the water, and that's cool, and it does have some meaning to it, but really the detox process with this particular foot bath is what really happens within that 24 to 48 to even 72 hours afterwards. So I continue to keep researching and looking, and you'll hear me in a lot of my videos talk about Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt. He's a world-renowned German doctor, and he has a video out there on the AMD, and I always trust his research because he's brilliant. So I continued to look, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this machine, this foot bath is $1,995. It's crazy expensive, but I truly believe that honestly, you do get what you pay for. That theory really does stand true. And if you're like me, you're probably tired of spending money. But honestly, we don't want to purchase a product that's going to make us worse. So there's a few things that I looked at when I started really digging into the research. With AMD, they actually manufacture their own foot bath. So they have the patent on it. It's manufactured in Denver, Colorado. They truly care about safety. So let's think about something. You have this tub with an array, a power supply cord, and you're mixing water and electricity. And you're like, oh my gosh, am I gonna get electrocuted? And that was one of the things I kept thinking, even when I was sitting at Dr. Feng's office, and I'm like, how does this work? Well, AMD truly cares about your safety, and so they make a medical grade power supply cord that actually has this kind of technology built into it so that it protects you against like power surges, electrical storms. So you literally could drop your entire like unit or the power cord into the water and you would still be okay. So that was huge for me, that they have a medical grade power supply. They also use what's called a 316 array, and it's made out of stainless steel. So I like the idea that they're using great products, and I like that they care about our safety. They also use what is called a 2-part detox. The first part is the amount of ions that they're using. So you have negative and positive charged ions. They use what is called 70% negative ions and 30% positive. So they actually use a current that filters out, and through that current, there's no dirty electricity, there's no EMFs, there's no hazardous waste. So for me, that's super important too, because I, again, am very sensitive to EMFs, and I do not want to be around EMFs. And also, if you are using a particular foot bath that is putting out a dirty current, that's going to put your body into a stressful state. And the body will detox and it will relax if you can have the right product. And so we don't want, again, to buy one of those $300 ones or $500 ones and have a dirty current causing more stress on our body. So the actual colon and the kidneys and the liver will all work properly if we can put our body into a parasympathetic rest and digest state instead of a sympathetic fight or flight state. So I guess what I'm getting at is that it really does stand true when you start to look at price and you're like, oh, $300 or $1,995. And I understand, because I have spent so much money on my healing journey. But the cool thing is there's a 3-year warranty on this particular foot bath. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee with no questions asked. And that actually starts after your foot bath is delivered to you. So you can try it out, and if you're like, you know what, I'm not feeling any better, I'm not seeing any results, then you can send it back. They also will work with you as far as payment plans, or they have something through PayPal that they can use, particular financing with PayPal. So there is a way. I always say where there's a will, there's a way. So just think about, the safety of the particular foot bath. Think about how long they've been in business, where it's manufactured, what kind of arrays they're using, what kind of power supply cords they're using. Those are all super important things to think about when you're on a healing journey. So tonight you're actually going to see my feet live in the foot bath. And I'm going to explain to you more when my feet are actually in the bath about the particular foot bath, some of the actual color chart, what the colors mean, and I'll go into more detail when I put my feet in there. I do want to explain too that the body actually has negative charged particles, and that's 70% of what they use. And those are your mycotoxins, your endotoxins, your biotoxins, your herbicides, which is glyphosate, the organic acids, which is ammonia. And then the body has about 30% of a positive charged ion, and those are your herbicides, your pesticides, your heavy metals, anything radiological. So the way that they've designed this foot bath is they use a 70% negative charged ion and a 30% positive charged ion. So they have done an amazing job with the technology and how they've created this foot bath. I'm super excited to show you my picture from 3 years ago at Dr. Lu Jean Fang's office and what you're going to see tonight. You'll see that there's definitely been a difference. You'll see that I'm healing. We definitely don't like to make any medical claims, but a lot of people will like rave and say, okay, I have more energy. They'll see a lot of heavy metal flakes in the water. They'll see their actual heavy metal test like decrease. There was a mother that I know, her child had autism. He hadn't said a word in 9 years. And this was one of the healing modalities that she used. And now he is speaking sentences like crazy. So again, we don't want to make medical claims, but you will see the body working and detoxing. And think about this, the feet actually have the largest pores, so everything is going to excrete and come out in that water. And then what you see 24 to 48 to 72 hours later in your stool and urine is where you're really going to see the difference and how you honestly feel. When your skin looks better, you have more energy, you're sleeping better, there's where the proof lies in the pudding. So before I show you my feet in the water, make sure that you like this video, you comment below, you subscribe, make sure you're hitting that notification button, and make sure you're changing it to all notifications so that anytime I do a video, you'll be notified that my video is ready to be viewed. I'm super excited to share and teach you more about the Ionic Footbath. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to show you my feet in the Footbath. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the AMD IonCleanse Solo in action. You're going to turn on the unit. It's going to take a minute to boot up. A major difference. You're going to hit the start button. You're going to see your program mode. You're going to select your time. I'm actually going to do a 20-minute bath tonight. So I'm going to decrease the time down to 20 minutes. And then I'm going to hit start. Start also equals next. And now I'm actually going to add the array that I talked about earlier. They use the 316 stainless steel array. I'm going to place that into the water. And now I'm going to hit start, which also equals next. And it's going to take it a minute to start actually activating and working and testing. And so right now it's testing the level to see how much salt we need to add. You're going to see volts, amps, polarity. It's telling me to add 1/8 teaspoon of salt slowly and swish around. So we actually use Redmond's real salt. I'm going to get 1/8 teaspoon and put it into the water. And I'm actually going to swish it around. And actually it'll tell me if it has enough salt. So I have to sit here and wait for just a moment. It's still telling me to add salt. So I'm going to add a little bit more salt. And I'm going to swish it around. This helps to dissolve around the arrays. And now it tells me that my salt level is optimal. So I know that I am ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and put my feet into the water. Okay, and so earlier I talked about the colors and the particles in the water. Many colors and particles will appear in the water during your session. Just so you know, the water is going to change color even if your feet are not in there. And this is where a lot of people think that the actual foot bath is a scam. But what you have to understand is that it still is working. If you remember earlier, we're actually looking at what happens after the process within that 24 to 48 to 72 hour period. But the reason why the water is usually changing color is sometimes it's like your water source, the added salt that you use, the actual array metals. It really just depends on your geographical area. I use tap water. That's what they want you to use. There's actually a fill line so you know how much tap water to put in. But just so you know, there still is like documentation and proof that there is something to the colors. Chinese acupuncturists, they actually understand the concept of regional toxicity. And so they understand that during this actual session, you will have higher frequencies of kidney, bladder, liver. So these colors do actually indicate something. According to the EAV, which stands for the electroacupuncture by Vol. So I want to talk about some of the colors. Right now, you're not seeing a whole lot of change with my water because I've only been in here for a few minutes. But if my water starts changing color, which it will, by the time I finish my 20-minute foot bath, you're going to see a difference. But I'm going to show you my actual picture from 3 years ago from Dr. Lu Jinfeng. And then tonight, when you see my foot bath, you're going to see that there's a huge difference. And the difference is actually for the better. But we actually have a color chart that we use, like I said. It's based on the EAV, which stands for electroacupuncture by Vol. It's their testing. And this is what they believe the colors in the water represent. If you see yellow to green, it indicates that there's a meridian issue with kidneys, bladder, urinary tract, prostate for male. If you see orange, there's an issue with the joint meridian. If you see brown, there's a liver meridian issue. Black can also indicate a liver meridian issue. Dark green will indicate a gallbladder meridian issue. White foam will indicate lymphatic meridian issue. Black flecks indicates heavy metals, and red flecks indicate meridian governing blood flow. Okay, my foot bath session is almost over. You're going to hear a beep. I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine off. And now we are going to look at my water. So if we go by the EAV, the electroacupuncture by Vol testing, we're going to see what my water represents. So I see a lot of white foam, which tells me that my lymphatic meridian definitely needs some attention. So I definitely need to work on more dry brushing, definitely more rebounding. I also see a lot of orange color, which probably tells me that indicates there's some joint meridian issues, which makes sense because I know my knees have been bothering me a little bit. So I find this color chart to be pretty accurate. Otherwise, my foot bath doesn't look too horrible. I do see some black specks, which indicate heavy metals. But since I've been using my infrared sauna for so long, my heavy metal test has definitely decreased. So I don't really think that's a huge issue. So I really hope that you have enjoyed this video. I actually do affiliate for AMD. So if you are interested in purchasing, my link will actually be in the description. You can find it there. And I hope you enjoyed this video.